The dying man's scream, raw and fractured, tore through the small room, its agony magnified as it ricocheted off the walls. The stench of burning flesh hung thick in the air, suffocating and inescapable. For a fleeting moment, even amidst the chaos, it was almost enough to make you pity your enemy. But the cloaked figure had a mission, and nothing would stop them from seeing it through. In a way, it felt eerily similar to that fateful day at Al-Khafji in 91, holding the line while their allies carried out their grim work above. 3 twisted demonic bodies lay broken around Tommy Frank, as he and Gil Finley stood guard over the control room, their grip on the situation unwavering. On the monitors, they watched as Terrence Jackson and the Queen Mother executed their work with ruthless precision, their movements cold and efficient. The speakers crackled, filling the room with the distorted, agonized wails of the damned, a tinny, haunting symphony of suffering. Back at the fortress, the situation has gone from bad to worse. The instant John feels the searing claws of the demonic monkey on his back, they vanish. He looks up, eyes wide, to see the creature suspended midair, frozen in place.
I told the Earthen Circle I had no interest in their war, but this, sorry creature, is an insult to primates everywhere.
The silverback flicks his fingers in a sharp, rhythmic series of 6 snaps, and the demon vanishes in a puff of smoke. Smirking at JD's stunned expression, the diplomat chuckles before saying,
If I were you, I'd keep moving. More of its kind won't be far behind.
Jean-Pierre nods in thanks before slipping out and shutting the door behind him. Without hesitation, he takes off down the hallway. The first 2 open doorways reveal empty rooms, so he doesn't slow. The third, however, is locked, forcing him to stop and force it open, hoping for a way deeper into the fortress. The door gives way, revealing a room with an opening leading to another hallway. But his relief is short-lived. Hovering before him is a massive winged serpent, its iridescent scales shifting through vibrant colors as it fixes him with an unblinking gaze.
Look, I'm just passing through. No need to turn this into a guy gets eaten by a flying rainbow snake kind of day.
He sidesteps cautiously, hands raised in peace, inching toward the hallway. With slow, deliberate steps, he slips past, silently hoping the serpent isn't the kind to strike a man in the back. Fortunately for John, the serpent only watches, an amused glint in its reptilian eyes. He moves swiftly down the hallway, stepping into a grand dining room lined with a row of 5 ornate wooden tables. The space is eerily quiet, but his attention is immediately drawn to the 2 bandaged men huddled in the upper corners of the room opposite the entrance. Their bodies are tense, eyes darting anxiously, not at him, but at something unseen. Whatever has them on edge may still be in the room. John steps cautiously forward, making for the door at the opposite end of the chamber when, suddenly, a violent explosion of red and green light erupts just a few yards ahead. The flash blinds him instantly, his vision overwhelmed by searing color. Instinct takes over. He throws himself backward, heart pounding, bracing for whatever comes next. As John blinks up from the ground, his vision slowly clearing, he sees Frank standing over a now prone winged demon, blood dripping from both of them. Near the fallen creature lies a cursed bow, its dark energy still crackling, a weapon meant for an ambush. The demon had been waiting, invisible to John's eyes, ready to strike. But somehow Frank had seen through the deception, outmaneuvering it and surprising it instead. Now, with cricket in hand, Frank was making sure the demon felt every bit of his wrath. Before John can even catch his breath, let alone ask Frank about the others, a door at the far end of the hallway swings open with a heavy creak. 3 more demons stride in, their eyes locking onto the scene. One of them, a hulking brute wielding a massive battle axe, lets out a low, guttural growl. The 2 bandaged men who had been cowering in the corners waste no time. They scramble to their feet and flee without a second thought. From beneath a chair, a small dinosaur-like lizard scurries out, darting after them in a desperate bid for safety. John swallows hard, still flat on his back, as Frank tightens his grip on Cricket. The fight wasn't over, not even close. Before the approaching demons can reach them, a sudden flurry of pink-tinted arrows rains down from above. Out of the shadows, Mel Everhart emerges, de-aged once more and wielding her power bow with effortless grace. Even before her arrows find their marks, another force crashes into the battlefield, Tyrone's mighty hammer soaring through the air like a missile. It slams into a demonic bat that had been diving straight for John, crushing the foul creature against the stone wall in a sickening crunch. With a furious roar, Tyrone doesn't hesitate. His hammer rematerializes in his grip, and he charges forward, eyes locked on the hulking demon, ready to meet it head-on. The berserker had found his target. The room erupts into chaos as battle breaks out in every direction. Blades clash, spells crackle, and the roars of demons mix with the shouts of warriors. John, heart-pounding, scrambles into a corner, clutching the pulsing orb. With no other choice, he lays his body over it, shielding it from the carnage unfolding around him. Minutes pass like an eternity, but then a burst of soothing energy fills the room. Moira steps through a doorway, her hands glowing with healing magic. Waves of restorative power wash over her allies, mending wounds and reigniting their strength. The tide of battle begins to shift, her presence a rallying force against the demonic onslaught. Before the heroes can fully seize the upper hand, disaster strikes. Frank stumbles, his body collapsing onto the cold stone, unconscious and bleeding. He had struck out of position, leaving himself vulnerable, and now none of his allies are close enough to reach him in time. The giant demon looms over him, its massive battle axe gleaming in the dim light. With a guttural snarl, it raises the weapon high, preparing to deliver the final fatal blow. A sudden explosion of green light bursts from every crack in the stone, flooding the chamber with an overwhelming force. The remaining demons are lifted into the air, their snarls and shrieks cut short as an unseen power grips them tight. In a terrifying instant, they are slammed against the ceiling, their twisted forms crushed into dust. The same radiant energy washes over the fellowship, but instead of harm, it brings renewal. Wounds knit closed, strength returns to weary limbs, and the crushing fatigue of battle fades. The battlefield, once filled with chaos and bloodshed, now hums with an eerie, restored calm. They had done it. The Fellowship had held off Montana's forces long enough for Queen Indigo to complete her work. The battle was over. The Foreign One had been vanquished, its presence erased from this world. The Earthen Circle had won the day. But victory came at a price. Sierra Rivera lay still. Her fight ended not by hesitation or fear, but by the weight of sacrifice. The absence was a gaping wound in the moment of triumph, a stark reminder that even the greatest victories demand a toll. Also missing from their number was Dutch Masterson. The European would live, but the overexertion of his unstable core, combined with the damage he'd taken, had burned him out, leaving him permanently cut off from his magic and transformed back into his human form. As the green light faded, the surviving warriors stood in silence, breathing in the cost of what they had won.